Welcome back to Root Double. When we last left off, we were getting into some sciencey shit. Watase had no clue what he was reading. Fifth fundamental force? Information? Dark energy? Information causing the universe to expand? He still had no clue why he'd felt such intense anxiety from this book. Was it just my imagination? Were his memories somehow expanded into the future somehow? I don't know. Just spitballing. Trying to figure out what sort of timey-wimey bollocks went on at the beginning with that strange fellow. Watase wondered that as he flipped through the pages and kept reading. The following conjecture is based off this theory. Even information itself can exist independently, and can possibly interact, be conveyed, without the use of other forces such as an intermediary. For example, since a human's thoughts are a type of information, they can communicate with others without the need for those thoughts to be converted into another medium, such as electrical signals. This is a somewhat extreme expression I'm using here, but this is the gist of the informational field hypothesis. The informational field is the place where information operates as the fifth fundamental force, energy. If we are to consider this by using the human brain as an example, the informational field generated from thought information may in fact be what we call the consciousness. It feels like a more grounded scientific interpretation of the old morphogenetic field theory. It is still unclear as of this point as to what the process that creates a consciousness entails. All we do know is that a consciousness is generated inside the brain when countless memories equal fragments of information, and electric signals running through the synapses interact. Memories equal fragments of information. However, another conjecture can be formed when you think on the basis of this hypothesis. If information can exist independently, then that means a consciousness does not necessarily have to form in a brain. A fixed amount of information gathers in one spot interacts with each other. A consciousness can be born right then and there. Furthermore, if information can be controlled, then it should also be possible to artificially create a consciousness. I can see an interpretation where our consciousness is shaped by our memories, hence we grow and develop as we gain more memories and bits of information in our lives. This theory seems to be, if we plug memories into someone's brain, eventually a different consciousness will develop in said brain. Yeah, this doesn't make any sense to me. What kind of research does this Natsuhiko Tenkawa person do? She'd called herself an elementary particle physicist, but he got the impression that this research had more to do with biology. But to create a consciousness? That's wild. Why would anyone want to do that? What does research involving creating a consciousness have to do with nuclear power and biology? He wasn't sure why, but he felt a faint, ominous sensation. Despite that, he continued to read more of the book, and then gasped. In conclusion, the various theories laid out in the informational field hypothesis have yet to be proven. This thesis has been reappraised in a form I never once expected. This is all due to a rapid yet drastic change that has recently swept society. That changed the manifestation of BC. BC? Come to think of it, Anna had mentioned it before. She'd said that it wasn't all that rare for there to be people who could use telepathy these days. Watase continued to read. The ability known as BC has been widely acknowledged by society in the last few years. It can be said that this has resulted in mindsets toward the nature of information and ways of communication to undergo tremendous changes. We've also discovered countless people who possess this ability that we never would have conceived as feasible mere years ago. The abilities of BC can generally be classified into two groups. First one is telepathy, the ability to directly send your voice to another's mind. The other is empathy, the ability to read the voice of another's mind. describing these two abilities with these extremely coherent terms, we can explain them separately. When BC is used, the user's thought information is not converted into another medium. They communicate with their target by sending that thought information directly into the target's brain, by using elementary particles as an intermediary. This matches up with what I proposed in my informational field hypothesis. Two completely unrelated fields of study, parapsychology and elementary particle physics, are connected by BC. Furthermore, while telepathy practitioners are still few, empathy practitioners are even rarer. But the true number of users is not what's important here. It's the fact that an ability such as empathy exists, and also the fact that the existence of information known as the voice of the mind can be observed by others despite previously being unknown to those other than the thinkers themselves. This is indeed the first and biggest paradigm shift of the 21st century. What? Read the voice of another's mind. Telepathy, send your voice to another's mind. Empathy, read the voice of another's mind. Does Watase have empathy? The words laid out before him were almost unbelievable. He'd already heard about the ability to directly send one's voice to another's mind. The problem was the other ability. Ability to read another's mind. Oh, no. Well, when you put it that way, no, that's not empathy that Watase was doing. He may have been the recipient of telepathy, but he then remembered what Enna had told him earlier. I see. So when she said mutually communicate, she didn't just mean sending your thoughts, but also reading other people's thoughts too. And the stuff in this book isn't just some pipe dream. Watase looked at the bookshelf in shock to find that many of them had the phrase BC in the titles. Apparently it really was considered a completely normal thing. Though there were very few of them, there were indeed people out there who could read others' minds. Just then, Watase finally realized the truth behind his anxiety. I see, so I was scared of this empathy ability. He didn't know exactly why. Maybe he'd had a really frightening experience with it before he lost his memories. Oh. Even if that weren't the case, he didn't feel like there could possibly be anyone who was okay with having their mind read by someone else. No, what if, at this very moment, someone is reading my mind and can hear my fear of having my mind read? Sorry, bro. That's just me. Don't mind me. Watase's body shook violently in the face of that abrupt thought.
それに BC の使い手はなぜか子供に多く、大人で使える人は輪をかけて稀なんだ。
If you were to trust what Jun said, that probably meant none of the adults in the group were communicators. What about the children? Yuri, for instance. Could Natsuhiko read minds? Mashiro? Salyu? And what about Yuri? I think we might have heard Natsuhiko's voice once in that flashback. So it's hard for me to say if the voice in Watase's head a few times was Natsuhiko or not. What about Yuri? He'd said that Natsuhiko and his friends could use telepathy. Oh, well. I don't remember that, but okay. That answers that question. Then isn't it naturally possible that they can use empathy, too? Now that he thought about it, several suspicious events had occurred. Why had Yuri run away from the group? Why had Salyu fled from the group back then? Why hadn't they found the three survivors yet? Why they look so angry? Those kids could read people's minds. When you take into account they've been running from us, maybe one of us hates them and they know it. I vote for Ukita. He didn't want to believe it, but it all added up. that were the case, then who was the one who hated them? It wasn't Watase at the very least. He knew that better than anyone. Just one of the other four. Once he thought that, every single one of them quickly seemed suspicious in his mind. His anxiety swelled up like a balloon. His heart started racing faster and faster. Doubt begot more doubt, but that it soon came full circle. No, wait. Maybe it's the other way around. What if they're the ones who hate us? Those kids who could read people's minds were filled with malice and trying to back Watase's group into a corner for some reason. Maybe that was just an absurd theory, but if it's true, then can we fight off guys like that? As soon as he thought that... Uh-oh. A sudden headache ripped through Watase's skull, causing him to groan. Psychic attack! His consciousness started fading as he grew incredibly dizzy. This is bad. Watase staggered his way out of the refuge room as quickly as possible. Watase hurried to a nearby restroom once he left the reference room. Looking good. He turned the sink faucet on with all his might and washed his face with cold water. His headache didn't get any better at all. Another headache. Wait, could this be an effect of radiation damage? So that moment that he remembered something Kazumi and the others had told him. It's a possibility the tap water's been contaminated by radiation. You could get internal radiation exposure just from drinking it. Shit. And washing his face with the stuff. Watase frantically wiped his face to make sure none of the water got in his mouth or nose. His headache still hurt just as much as it had before, and soon he was assaulted with anxiety and fear. It made him feel even worse. Uh-oh. Watase vomited into the sink. His stomach was empty, so all that came out were gastric juices. A heavy sense of fatigue weighed down his whole body. Damn it. Thinking about way too much all at once. Watase gritted his teeth. Being trapped in this hellish environment was bad enough. Now strange incidents were happening one after another. People had either died or been killed, and on top of that, there might be monsters out there who can read people's minds. Watase was extremely confused. I'm sure thinking of them as monsters is not going to help the situation if they are reading your mind. At that moment, countless disconnected images flashed through his mind as if they were conspiring with that confusion. A lot of communicators have been coming to this city. Eh? What was all that? Felt like there had been images he didn't recognize mixed in with that one of Yuri. And that Natsuhiko Tenkawa and his friends, the very same people they were looking for now, had been in them. Why, I'd seen them somewhere before. Didn't know. Couldn't tell if they were his own memories or not. But as Watase was driven to the brink of confusion by those mysterious images... Aha! It was the first time in ages that he'd heard that auditory hallucination. Watase was overcome with astonishment when he heard it. Wait, could this auditory hallucination be trying to control me? The suspicion expanded to immense proportions in one quick moment. No, what if someone's been controlling me this whole time? Who's the me that I've thought was me up until now? Watase looked at his face in the mirror, as he was seized by that primitive fear. Reflected in there was the face of an unfamiliar man he didn't recall. Watase felt whatever had been keeping himself sane up until this point start to fall apart in an instant. Kazumi, Jun, Ena, and Okita, adults who possibly held some malice against the survivors. Yuri, Salyu, Natsuhiko, and Mashiro, children who possibly wielded a mysterious power. And himself, a man with vague memories and a will that might not even be his own. Just as Watase started harboring doubts toward everyone, himself included.
考えすぎなんだよ、私は。
Eh?
考えすぎると臆病になって何にも考えられなくなっちゃうよ。
Watase blinked. It felt like someone else's face was in the mirror. But all he saw there was his own face. What was that? Who was that? Perhaps it was a type of audiovisual hallucination, or maybe a flashback. He wasn't sure, but when he saw that face, he felt a mysterious sense of nostalgia come over him. His heart calmed for some reason when he muttered that. Watase felt as though that illusion had been admonishing him. That's right, I have to trust everyone, and myself. Watase turned off the still-running faucet. Looks like I was just jumping at shadows for a minute there. Watase finally realized that he'd regained his composure, and that his headache was now gone. Time he left the bathroom, the doubts that had taken hold of him had completely vanished. Back to work. Watase quickly checked his watch when he left the bathroom. Time was exactly 1:16 p.m. It's right about time to take some more AED, huh? Watase administered himself with one of the ampules he had on him. The road ahead was still long. To make things worse, he was so tired that his body felt like lead at this point. Now that he thought about it, Watase realized he'd only accumulated 4 hours worth of memories since he woke up. In other words, 5 hours was longer than the life Watase could remember so far. Watase walked down the hallway as he felt the frustration towards the whole situation, then suddenly heard an unfamiliar voice. Uh-oh. The voice appeared to be coming from just past the corner in the hallway right up ahead. He then heard yet another voice echoing. Oh. It appeared to be Ena's. Who's Teach talking to? You could tell from the voice it probably wasn't Jun or Kazumi. Watase peeked around the corner to see what was going on. Isn't that... only to find Salyu standing in front of Ena. Watase immediately held his breath and listened in on their conversation.
だいたいあなたの目的は何なの？
それはこっちのセリフ。エナこそなぜここにいるの？昨日は私たちの情報に耳を貸さなかったのに。
え？
それはあの時も言ったでしょ。ここから先は大人の仕事だって。
Let's see how this plays out.
つまりこれがあなたの仕事。
What are they talking about? it sounded like Sally was talking to Anna the way a student would to a teacher. And the details of their conversation felt private. Watase almost walked out in the opening, on instinct, but he stopped himself at the last moment. He remembered how Sally had abruptly run away from him last time. And how I should trust Teach and watch how things play out. Anna then resumed the conversation.
詳しい話は後よ。とにかく私と一緒に行きましょう。これ以上の単独行動は危険だわ。
いや。
どうして？
真白がエナは心を開いていないと言っていた。私は真白の判断を信じる。
Well.
鳥羽さんと一緒にいるの？あの子はどこに？
今はいない。
どういうこと？
Eh? Sally didn't answer. Anna soon started to grow impatient.
心を開いていないことについては認めるわ。そうしなければならない事情があるのよ。でも私はあなたたちの味方よ。信じてくれないの
Sally paused for what felt like forever, then spoke up as if she'd made up her mind.
エナ、夏彦に免じて一つだけ忠告してあげる。
え？
あの隊長という男には気をつけて。あの男は危険。
え？
Just then.
おい、それはどういう意味だ?
Whoa! Watase instinctively rushed out from behind the corner. Uh-oh. And she's gone. Sally turned herself aside and started running off at that exact same moment.
待ちなさい、三宮さん。
Good job, Watase. Anna immediately gave chase. But Sally pushed her away a second later. Watase caught Anna before she hit the ground. Sally took that opportunity to run into the connecting passageway that led to the outer ring. And disappeared behind the security gate.
待ってくれ!
Watase quickly picked up the pursuit, but then the security gate shut before his eyes. Frustrated, Anna punched the closed gate. Watase quickly took out his card to open the gate again. But Sally was already long gone by then. Watase and Anna ran into B2 of Area 2's outer ring in pursuit of Sally. She wasn't anywhere to be seen.
あの子、どこへ？
探そう。どこか近くの部屋に隠れている可能性が高い。
ええ。
Watase and Anna nodded at each other, then searched the nearby rooms. Watase couldn't help but voice his thoughts as he kept on opening random doors.
しかし、あの子、俺が危険ってどういうことなんだ?
そんなこと言ってたわね。隊長さん、さっきの話に心当たりは？
Nope.
残念ながらない。
そう。でも、三宮さんと隊長さんの間に何かがあったのは確かなはずよ。おそらく隊長さんが記憶喪失になる前に。
ああ、俺も同じことを考えていた。だが俺はレスキュー隊員なんだぞ。それなのに彼女に何をしたって言うんだ。
私に聞かれてもわかるわけないでしょ。もしかすると三宮さんが何か誤解をしているのかもしれないけど。
Watase then remembered the wound on Salyu's arm as she said that. I wasn't the one who gave her that wound, was I? But he couldn't think of any reason why he'd ever do that. Is that a bullet wound? The pair finished their search of the floor as Watase pondered that. Sally was still completely nowhere to be found.
他のエリアに逃げたのかしら。
先生、彼女を追いかけよう。 彼女を見つけられれば直接いろいろ話も聞ける。
待って、その前に
え
隊長さんはどうして単独行動をしているの？危険だから極力避けようって話だったわよね。
ああ、それは立花が。
Watase then explained to Anna how Kazumi had gotten hurt. While they were at it, Watase and Anna synchronized their PDA's map data to share their search results.
そっちではそんなことがあったのね。
You guys too?
そっちではってことは。
こっちも森部さんが第6エリアの捜索中、高所から落下して負傷したわ。
Ah!
なんだって。それで森部は大丈夫なのか？
安心して、今は第6エリアの一室で休んでいるけど、すぐに復帰できると思うわ。
そうか。
Jesus. Watase breathed a sigh of relief, but Anna frowned.
でもねえ隊長さん、こんなことが連続するなんて、やっぱりこのラボで何かが起こっていると思わない？
I'm starting to buy into that more and more.
確かに。
Both Kazumi and Jun had been wounded at the same hour. It stunk too much to be a coincidence. It feels like there's an invisible enemy that's attacking us. But aimlessly fanning the flames of his anxiety wouldn't help a thing. He decided to focus on the pressing issue at hand first.
でもそれより先生、まずはサリを追おう。まだ近くにいるかもしれない。
ええ。
Anna nodded nervously, then broke off into a run with Watase. Bomb and gun. Watase and Anna were currently in Area 2's outer ring. Taking into account the state of things, Salyu had to have run to either Area 1 or in the direction of Area 3. They didn't know which way she'd gone.
仕方ないわ。ここは二手に分かれましょう。
ダメだ。ここまでいろんなことが起きてる以上、もう単独行動を取るのは危険だ。
Yeah?
じゃあどうすれば？
Just as Anna said that, she and Watase heard a sound coming from far off.
今の音は？
Oh.
あっちだ。行こう先生。
Watase and Anna ran toward the source of the sound, Area 1. On their way, they heard yet another noise.
間違いない。今度は連絡通路からだ。
Two of them followed the sound as quickly as they could. They ran through the connecting passageway and entered Area 1.
隊長さん、これ。
Blood. Only see red bloodstains scattered here and there. It's fresh. Is it Salyu's blood? Blood trail continued all the way to the stairwell.
追いましょう、隊長さん。
あ、
Watase and Anna ran over to the stairwell. The emergency staircase was collapsed as it had been earlier, leaving only a room full of debris. But Sally wasn't there. The end of the scattered blood trail was a vinyl bag full of a red liquid. Ah! The bag's label read AB.
これは輸血用血液パック。
Ah! We got baited.
どうしてこんなものが？
Watase and Anna stood there in confusion. Only for the fire door behind them to shut a second later. Oh fuck. Well, taken aback with surprise, Watase tried to open the door. But he couldn't. Only budged a few millimeters like something was propped against it.
閉じ込められた。
Well,
何これ？何かの罠？
罠だって。
Watase looked around for an exit as he tried to recover from the shock. Quickly spotted something that caught his eye immediately.
あれは
Something was lying in the corner of the stairwell. A fire extinguisher.
消火器。
隊長さん、消火器がどうかしたの？
いや。
Watase suddenly realized something. It was the object that caught fire and exploded in the stairwell earlier. The fire extinguisher.
ちょっと待ってくれ先生。
Watase gently walked over to the extinguisher, picked it up and examined it.
何をやってるの？
わからん。が 何か嫌な予感がする。
He turned it upside down and checked it out, only to find what appeared to be soldering marks on the bottom. Watase picked up a piece of debris, pushed it against the soldering marks, and tried opening up the extinguisher. Succeeded in removing the bottom of the extinguisher, and found something strange inside. Watase gasped when he saw it. A cord stuck out of what appeared to be a digital clock, wrapped around several cylindrical objects. You could tell from a glance that it was a time bomb.
何これ。
消火器の中に爆弾が仕込まれてたのか。
Just as Watase finished voicing his shock. Oh great! Numbers appeared on the digital display. A strange beeping sound began echoing through the stairwell.
数字が減ってる。
まずい、起動したらしい。
Watase knew for sure that the constant beeps coming from the timer were a countdown to their deaths. This is what the one who trapped us in here was after.
隊長さん、なんとか解体できないの？
解体？無茶言わないでくれ。俺にそんなスキルはない。それより早くここから逃げるんだ。
でも逃げるって言ったって。
The staircase had crumbled and the fire door was shut. But just as Anna said, there was no way out. The bomb's timer was ticking down by the second. And then, the time between the beeps gradually grew shorter and shorter, as if to fuel Watase and Anna's fear.
くそ。
Watase body slammed the door out of desperation.
開きやがれ、この野郎。
But it didn't budge an inch. Is this it? Is this where it ends? But just as Watase was about to give up...
隊長さん、どいて。
Gun! Anna shouted that and took something out from under her clothes. That object, shining with a black luster, was none other than... a pistol? Anna's got a gun. Holy fuck. Anna pulled the trigger as that wave of sheer disbelief hit Watase. The bullet successfully destroyed the door's hinges.
早く扉を蹴破って、早く。
Though Watase was still confused, he kicked the fire door with all his might. The door collapsed into the hallway, allowing the light on the other side to shine in.
開いた。
That's not the part I expected to be the door.
行きましょう。時間がないわ。
Watase and Anna rushed into the hallway without a moment's delay. They fled down the hallway as fast as they could, pursued by the sound of beeping from the room they'd escaped. It's gonna blow. Watase dove towards Anna as that realization hit him.
先生、伏せろ。
Watase threw himself into the hallway in order to shield her with his body. Then, beeping finally stopped. Over 10 seconds had passed since the beeping had stopped. The only sound that filled the block was Watase and Anna's panting. Two of them got off the floor and timidly took a peek into the stairwell. However, no explosion had happened.
爆発しない。どうして？
わからないが、どうやら助かったみたいだな。不発弾だったのか。
そうかもしれない。けど、なんだか妙だわ。
Something is indeed weird here.
今まで起きたことと何かが違っていた気がする。
True, there had been several bizarre factors so far. Like the sprinkler system being offline, the passageway blocked by the electric cable, and puddle, or the cargo lift being broken. But unlike all of those, there had been a clear malice behind this incident. That was a bit of a sloppy job, wasn't it? Watase looked at the kicked-down fire door. There was something that appeared to be a metal bar lying next to it. That must have been what was holding back the door. It just felt very improvised on the spot for a trap. On top of that, the bomb in question hadn't detonated. The one who had set up the whole thing had been trying to kill Watase and Enna, then they'd failed completely. There's some reason they didn't spend much time on prepping it. Watase's thoughts were suddenly interrupted by the sound of footsteps approaching. Moribe! Turned around to find Jun running toward him.
隊長、それに椿山さんも。
なんだ、森部か。
なんだとは何さ。なんかバターンってすごい音が聞こえたから病み上がりに駆けつけてきたのに。
The set of footsteps closed in as Jun said that. They looked up to see Ukita running their way.
ああ、皆さんお揃いか。
Where the fuck were you?
妙な音が聞こえたが、何があったのかね。
Jun and Ukita had both said more or less the exact same thing. Come to think of it. Watase looked at Enna's hands in surprise. Ukita and Jun did the same, then gasped.
椿山さん。
拳銃？それどうしたの？
これはその。
Enna's body froze, then she took a step back.
先生、さっきその銃、懐から出したよな。あ、どういうことだね。どうして君がそんなものを持っているのかね。
そうだよ。あんた教師じゃなかったの？
ちょっと待って、みんな誤解しているわ。この拳銃は私の持ち物なんかじゃないの。このラボで拾ったものよ。
拾った？どこで？
排出リフトのあった小部屋よ。
Oh.
あの部屋の隅に落ちていたの。
本当かね？
I mean, something killed that girl.
私たちが人工呼吸とかやってる間に鉄砲を見つけて拾ってたの？
だって本当なんだもの。
Anna cringed at Ukita's and Jun's harsh glares. Watase thought over the whole situation.
まあいい。それは信じよう。
そんな簡単に信じちゃうの？
証明できないんだからしょうがないだろ。
Watase admonished Jun, then turned back to Enna.
Hontou ka ne?
How low do we have to go to doubt? I mean, you did save our lives with it. But you were also... I don't know. I'm torn. And realized it was indeed strange. Anna had taken out the gun and fired without any hesitation in an emergency situation. And all four of her shots pinpointed the door's hinges with destructive accuracy. If she'd never held a gun before, that was some nigh impossible beginner's luck she had.
先生、今までにも銃を撃ったことあるのか？
あるわけないでしょ。でもこんなこと言ったらバカにされそうだけど、私趣味がサバゲーなの。
サバゲー？
サバイバルゲーム、エアガンを撃ち合う大人の戦争ごっこよ。だから実銃は扱ったことなくても射撃はそれなりに得意で。
へえ、意外と子供っぽいね。でもそれと本物の銃を持っていたことは全く関係ないよね。
分かってるわよ。隊長さんの質問に答えただけよ。
すまない。余計なことを。
But Ukita interrupted before Watase was done.
ではあくまで銃は拾ったと主張するのだね。
ええ、証拠はないけど。
そうか。だがここは先生の言を信じることにしよう。
信じちゃうの？
Well, we just cycled back around to this.
証明できないんだからしょうがないだろう。
Alright. Watase admonished Jun, then turned back to Enna.
でも先生、どうしてそれを今まで隠してたんだ？そっちの方が問題だ。
あの時は仕方なかったのよ。死体を見た直後で脱出口も立たれていて、自分の身は自分で守らなきゃってそう思ってしまったんだもの。
Now that she mentioned it, Enna had mentioned the killer several times right after that incident. She'd kept on insisting that the killer was still in the facility. Was that because she just found the gun? And because she was preparing to protect herself? Enna continued as Watase pondered that.
その後は言うタイミングを逃してしまって。ごめんなさい。皆さん、信じてもらえるかしら。
Anna said that in a feeble voice. Kita and Jun replied with their voices laced in bitterness.
ああ、信じる信じないは別として、銃がここにあるのは事実だよね。
それを知ってしまったからには、君に拳銃を独占させておくわけにはいかない。
だったらどうかな。とりあえず私が預かっとくってのは。
ここは年長者の僕が預かるのが筋じゃないかね。
I trust Jun more than you.
何言ってるのよ、二人とも。私が銃を持ってるのも変だけど、あなたたちが持っているのも危険じゃない。
Can we give it to Kasumi?
何？
Jun, Ukita, and Enna were all glaring at each other fiercely. Watase felt a shiver run down his spine when he saw that. Well... What are they saying? They're planning to start fighting each other for the gun. It was likely that a fight really would break out if we didn't act soon. Watase frantically rose his voice.
だったら、森部、銃はお前が預かるんだ。
え？どうして森部さんなのよ。
先生とおっさんは素人だろ。だったらここはプロの森部に任せるのが正解だ。
プロって、あなたたちはレスキューのプロであって銃の扱いなんて知らないはずよ。
何をごちゃごちゃと。いいからその銃をこっちに渡すんだ。
Oh boy. And thus a quarrel broke out. The four of them were soon shouting whatever they liked back and forth at each other. After having wasted more than enough time, Watase finally interrupted them.
ちょっと待ってくれみんな。これじゃ拉致が開かない。
Oh boy. Give me the gun. I need to save my game first, because this could be bad. Actually, let's see how this plays out.
じゃあどうしようっていうのさ。
待てお前ら。それ以上揉めるつもりなら、そいつは俺が預かる。
Bad news bears. Watase then tried to snatch the pistol from Enna, but then Kita intervened.
ダメだ。君に持たせるくらいなら僕が持った方が安全だ。さあ、椿山さん、それをこっちによこすんだ。
Someone's getting shot.
ちょっと、だからその銃は私が持つって言ってんじゃん。
やめなさい、二人とも。
We're gonna get a bad ending. We're gonna get a bad ending. Kita and Jun reached for Enna's pistol. The three of them began fighting over the gun.
おい、やめろ。みんなやめるんだ。
Watase grew impatient and tried to tear his three companions, now practically wrestling each other for the gun, off of each other. Just then, Watase heard a dry sound, followed by what felt like something punching him straight in the heart. He looked down and saw a small hole had been bored in the dead center of his chest.
なんだ
When he said that, a gurgling sound echoed from his throat. Something welled up and clogged his trachea. It hurt. Watase coughed it up. It was blood. Why? Just then he felt a heat slowly but steadily spreading around his lungs. He was then assaulted with scorching pain a second later. Watase groaned and grabbed his chest. His palm was soaked with warm, dark red blood.
隊長そんな
Good job, assholes! Watase looked closer to find all three of their hands were wrapped around the gun. That the muzzle was pointed straight at him for some reason. None of you get the gun. Ugh. Watase vomited blood again. Felt strength leaving the core of his body a moment later. Fell to his knees. His body then lurched forward. When his cheek came into contact with the cold floor, a chill rapidly spread through his entire body. Urgh. Watase's energy grew fainter with each time he vomited blood. Jun was desperately shouting something right above him, and was doing the same. Their words merely sounded like white noise ringing in Watase's ears. Just then, the light suddenly faded from his eyes. His consciousness sank into darkness. Then, as Watase lay there, not knowing if he'd been shot by accident or on purpose, his heart stopped. At ending 17, the unknowing, the result of Watase mishandling the gun situation by trying too hard to have things his way. May be able to avert this fate by setting the other members' senses higher than Watase's at the... Ooh. Really? That's the first not specific hint gotten. Distill. Too dangerous to keep this thing around. Let's destroy it or throw it away.
でも壊しちゃったら万が一テロリストがどこかに潜んでいた時誰も対抗できなくなるよ
捨てるのもなしだね捨ててもどうせ誰かが拾うさそれじゃあ
The gears in Watase's mind rotated at high speed, then produced him the best answer.
そうだこうしたらどうだまず重心から弾倉を外すんだそして弾丸も全て抜くすると弾のない重心空の弾倉弾丸のみの3つの品ができるだろそいつを3人で分けて保管するんだよ
Ah.
分けて保管
Everyone's eyes widened at Watase's proposal. Watase may have sounded composed on the outside, but he was panicking on the inside. This gun just had to show up when everyone was already unstable as it was. It's too dangerous to keep around. Gotta resolve this whole thing peacefully. Watase kept speaking in the gentlest voice he could in order to hide his fears.
そうさそうすりゃ奥が一テロリストなんてものが現れた時もみんなの同意があればバラした銃を組み直して対抗できるだろ
なるほど確かに
逆にテロリストが現れなかった時は全員平等に無力だみんな安心だろこれで
でも
納得してくれよ先生。俺は早いとここんな馬鹿げたことは終わらせたいんだ。
Silence reigned over the group for a while, and soon let out an exasperated sigh.
分かったわ。隊長さんの言う通りにするわ。
Then took the magazine out of the gun. He then awkwardly took the bullets out of the magazine and the gun's chamber. There were 11 of them in total. Jesus.
これでいいの？
ああ、問題ないだろう。
しかし誰が何を持つのかね。
どうでもいいっちゃいいが、そうだな。おっさんが重心、先生が弾倉、森部が弾丸でいいんじゃないか。
隊長は？
俺はいいよ。言い出しっぺは何も持たない方がいい。
なるほどね。ならばひとまず安心か。
じゃあ私も構わないよ。
私も同意するわ。それじゃあ分けましょう。
Anna then gave Okita the gun, then the bullets to Jun.
よし、これで問題は解決だな。
そうだね。バッチリだね。
ほっとしたよ。
ええ。
The three of them seemed placated for the time being. But Watase was thinking about something completely different. Why did this gun already have bullets in it when Teach found it? The gun had belonged to the terrorist Jun mentioned, then why was it lying by the lift? If it had been empty, it would have made more sense. That would have meant the terrorist had probably discarded it on purpose. But who would ever get rid of a loaded gun? And that would mean the owner hadn't gotten rid of it, but rather dropped it. Or maybe they left it there. Was it in order to give it to us? The gun was now split up into 3 parts. Watase wondered if this had all been a trap someone had set up to drive a rift between the group. Everything was stable for the time being. Now the group had to pull themselves together and continue with their search, whether they liked it or not. Watase addressed the others with that thought in mind.
さて、なんだかんだで立花以外は全員揃っちまったな。俺たちの組は第5エリアからぐるっと回ってここまで来た。森部たちの組は何か見つけられたか？
いや、ゆりちゃんも誰もいなかったし、AD も見つからなかったよ。
そうね。脱出口もね。
おっさんは？
君らと別れてからほんの20分くらいしか経ってないじゃないか。もちろん何も見つかってない。
Like always, their search had yielded nothing.
そうか。何か気になったこととかはあるか
Watase said that as a way to basically say, did anyone spot Salio? Then Jun gave a surprising answer.
あ、そういえば細かいことだけど、なんか花の匂いぱったりしなくなったね。
Floral set. What? Huh? Watase was totally confused by her comment.
花の匂いって？
いや、ほら、施設内に時々漂ってたじゃん。嗅いだことない？
そんなのあったっけ？
Huh? Watase then glanced at Ukita and Enna.
ああ、そういえばそんな匂いしてたね。
どうかしら。嗅いでない気がするけど。
Two contradicting statements. Just didn't make sense to Watase. 4 of them, plus Kazumi and Yuri, had traveled through the entire facility together, yet Watase and Enna didn't smell anything while Jun and Ukita did.
なんだそれ？何の匂いなんだ？
いや、ほんと細かいことだからそんな引っ張らなくていいよ。それより隊長たちはなんか気になることあった？
ああ。
Watase said that and changed his train of thought.
実は俺と先生はさっきサリを見かけたんだが、また逃げられてしまったんだ。
また？なんで？
わからん。
Thalu's words crossed his mind for a moment. Careful of that captain. He's a dangerous man. Anna didn't bring that up, perhaps out of consideration for Watase.
逃げた理由はわからないけど、見る限り元気そうだったわよ。AD はちゃんと投与してるんだと思うわ。
ああ、それは不幸中の幸いだね。
うん。
それだけが心配だったからな。
Everyone nodded at Ukita's comment.
とはいえ、彼女が AD を十分な数持っているとは限らん。彼女が逃げたのはおそらく第6エリア方面だ。このまま4人で捜索しよ
副隊長はどうしよっか。
う。回復したら脳科学実験室に戻れと言っておいたが。
ならちょうどいいね。第6エリアなら脳科学実験室のすぐ近くだし。
では捜索を続けるとするかね。
Let's go.
ええ、それじゃ行きましょう。
The group then started to walk off. Anna was walking in front of the others. She was fiddling around with her PDA, probably to check her map. Watase walked up to her and whispered in her ear.
先生、
Anna turned around in surprise. She put away her PDA and spoke in a harsh voice.
いきなり背後に立たないで驚くじゃない。
ああ、すまない。それよりいいのか先生。サリュが言っていたことを森部たちに伝えなくて。
バカね。いいのよ、伝えなくて。話がややこしくなるだけでしょ。同じ理由でさっきの爆弾のことも言うべきじゃないわ。ただでも私の拳銃のせいでみんな先立ってしまったみたいだから。
そうか。
でもね、隊長さん、あの爆弾のことも三宮さんのことも私たちは常に頭に入れておかなきゃダメよ。三宮さんが逃げたのにはきっと私たちの知らない理由がある。爆弾を仕掛けた人物も確かに存在する。
Yeah.
気を抜いたら重要なことを見落としてしまうかもしれないわ。命に関わるようなことをね。
I wonder if that's what's been destroying this. That's what had destroyed the staircases. And was speaking with a type of intensity that she'd never used before. It's worth. A silent edge different from all her backtalk and hysteric shouting could be felt from her.
先生、あんた何を。
周囲のあらゆるものを疑ってかかりなさいということよ。周りの人もこの施設のことも、場合によっては自分自身の見聞きしたものも先入観に騙されてるかもしれないから。
Hmm.
わかった。胸に留めておこう。
素直ね、隊長さん。そういう生徒は伸びるわ。
俺はあんたの生徒じゃないが。
でも記憶のないあなたよりは今のところ人生経験がずっと多いはず。偉そうに聞こえるかもしれないけど、先達の意見だと思って受け止めておいて。
The group arrived at Area 6 while they were talking. Watase began handing out orders once they arrived at the factory.
チームを組み直そう。森部は先生と組んで、おっさんは俺と組んで、それぞれ捜索をしよう。それで捜索が終わったら、一度脳科学実験室に戻ろう。
了解。じゃあ私らはファクトリーを担当するね。
わかったわ。
まあよかろう。
Of
それじゃ
course.
みんな気をつけてな。
With those words, Watase then parted ways with Enna's team. Area 6, Inner Ring, B2. Watase and Ukita were searching the area, but they couldn't find anything.
いないな。
仕方ない。地下1階に行こうか。
ああ。
They headed for the emergency staircase. The staircase in the dim stairwell had collapsed. The rope Watase had used to climb up earlier was still right where he'd left it.
これは 上の階に行くにはこのロープを登っていかねばならないということかね。
ああ、おっさん、登れるか？
とても無理だ。登れる自信が全くない。
Oh, suck it up.
仕方ないな。
You can do it.
じゃあ、俺が背負って。
Watase realized something before he finished speaking. He was feeling quite tired. Could he really climb up the rope with Ukita on his back in this shape? Two of us fall together by any chance will both get badly hurt.
いや、おっさんを背負って登るってのはやめた方が無難そうだ。
そうか。ではどうするかね。
ここは俺一人で行く。おっさんはファクトリーに行って森部たちの捜索を手伝ってきてくれ。
了解だ。では後ほどファクトリーでお茶を。
あ、おっさんも気をつけてな。
Ukita nodded, then left the stairwell.
さて。
Watase promptly climbed the rope to the upper floor. Area 6, Inner Ring, B1. Watase began searching the block by himself, but he didn't find Yuri or any of the other survivors in the rooms. Time was passing by, and he still hadn't secured any more AD.
苦労して登ったのに。
He figured he should go to the factory and meet up with Ukita and the others. Just as he thought that, the PC monitor in the room suddenly caught Watase's eye. He hadn't noticed it the last time he had been there. The monitor was still on. It appeared the PC was frozen. On screen was what appeared to be a text file that someone had been editing. Test subjects in IGF2R gene type. Subject A. Hereditary IGF2R gene abnormality type S, deceased. Subject N. Hereditary IGF2R gene abnormality type S. Subject Y. IGF2R gene type 4. Showed no signs of genetic mutation via WX particles. Discarded. Subject Y2. Acquired IGF2R gene abnormality type S. Natural IGF2R gene abnormality type C. Wise discovery. Wise discarding. No precedent regarding releases. Expected problems. Memory recovery, etc. Memory recovery. Alteration targets in IGF2R gene types. Especially a special target, NA. What? Special target NA, type S. Special target NA2, type S. Natural type C. Target U, type 4. Observation target, Ka. Type D. Observation target MA. Type B. MA level 5. Consider irradiation test. Oh, nice. Just get irradiated. See what happens. NA, subject N. 9 years ago. Subject Y. U. 2030. Nothing he saw on that screen meant anything to Watase. Yet, he felt a mysterious chill run through him the moment he saw all those entries for some reason. That exact moment he muttered that, strange images flickered through Watase's brain. What? Didn't recognize any of those images. Perhaps they were remnants of his memories of the past. They were accompanied by intense fear and unpleasant feelings that assaulted him. He didn't know why, but just being there was terrifying and made him disgusted enough to throw up. Watase left the room as if he were running away from it. I felt this before. He headed for the stairwell as he pondered what that was. As he descended the rope, he slowly began to realize it. It was fairly recently, wasn't it? No, a bit earlier than that. Searched for the truth behind his fear, and then finally remembered just as he descended the rope was when he'd entered the contaminated zone to look for Yuri after she had run off.
どうしてあの時あんなひどいことをしたんですか？
He remembered her saying that. That's right, now that I think about it. Yuri said something strange back then. He'd felt that same strange sense of dread back then for some reason. Why had he forgotten about it until now? Shocked, Watase watched as the Yuri in his memory spoke.
本当に忘れてしまったんですか？私はもう少しで死んでしまうところでした。火の中に置き去りにされて本当に怖かった。
ユーリ、何を言っているんだ？
あなたにわからないんだったら私にもわかりません。私にはもう何もわからないんです。だからお願いです。隊長さん、教えてください。あなたの心を。
Yuri said that and turned her palm towards Watase. A strange image spread out right before him. That sight overlapped with Yuri. That was right. Yuri had indeed said all that. He'd completely forgotten about that encounter with her, even though it only happened about an hour ago.
なんで俺は
Thought about it, then suddenly gasped after a few seconds. Either my memory impairment isn't actually healing with time, and getting worse instead? Watase shuddered at that thought. That wasn't the only thing that horrified him. It was also the fact that Watase had felt a clear fear for Yuri, that memory he'd just recovered. Why would I ever be scared of Yuri? Just then, even more incomprehensible words passed through Watase's brain as if only to confuse him further. Test subjects are dangerous. That was that. That were those words. I don't know them. I've never heard those words before. So he drowned out those words along with the unpleasant feelings he felt. Now, fearing the darkness and seeking light, he opened the door to the stairwell. But when faint light showed in from the outside, Watase felt a horrible shiver down his spine. Got the feeling that in the shadow of the debris of the emergency staircase, blind spot that he hadn't paid attention to when climbing, something was hiding.
誰だ
His heartbeat skyrocketed.
誰だ
Appeared to be lying on the floor. Watase timidly peeked in the shadow of the debris. Found himself face to face with an unbelievable sight.
そんな
Oh! Watase's voice sounded empty. A small body lying on the ground. Eyes that had lost all light. Watase saw all of that.
ユーリ